I'm talking today after a great deal of introspection, after having spoken to a lot of specialists who've studied both men and women. You all know I've had a long career in finance. I've also headed businesses. So you would wonder or you would think that, well, financially she must have been very planned. Now, let me tell you one thing. I'm also a person who's very, very quick with numbers. I can rattle off, I can do a quick analysis without even opening an Excel sheet. But what was the issue? The issue was, despite being so good with numbers, despite helping companies plan their financials, and I must be reasonably good at it because I've also headed companies as a CFO. I'm currently CFO of a large MNC. My own financial planning was non existent. Can you believe it? Yes, it was. And I just couldn't understand why I had been so stupid on the financial front. And here lies the answer. It's got nothing to do with IQ. It's got nothing to do with a woman's ability of being able to understand the stock market or FDs or bank rates or so on and so forth. It's just how her genes are engineered. It goes back to the role of a man being the hunter and provider and the woman being the nurturer who looks after the babies, does the cooking, keeps her man comfortable. And this happens to us even now, even though we might be very educated, we might be at very senior positions. At home, we just like to be this person who's warm, who's trying to keep the family together. We come back home, we throw our bags, we get into the kitchen, check what's there for food, we check the groceries, we see if the school fees are paid, if the maid is being looked after. We are so caught up multitasking, we leave the so-called in our minds, the less important or the boring job of looking after the investments, the tax filings to the men in the family, which is all very good as long as the family stays together. What happens if something dismantles that family? What happens if there is an untimely death of your spouse, of the man in the family? God forbid, what happens in case of a divorce where both of you get into a terrible fight and the other guy is not willing to budge? What happens then? Do you think you'll be able to support yourself, look after those around you? Here is what I have to say. Whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're married or single, always ensure you have a safety net for yourself. We often say when we are flying, you hear the saying, put on your mask first before you help others. Similarly, it's very important in life to make sure you are covered financially for all the contingencies, all the emergencies that might come your way. Life is not predictable. Whether you're a man or a woman, make sure you have 3 to 4 to 5 years of a savings kitty with you at any point of time that you can access. If you are married, have an open conversation with your spouse in case of an untimely death or in case of a separation. Yes, you need to talk this, and if your spouse is loving enough, he or she will not mind this discussion. In case of any of these, how well covered will you be? If you are going for joint assets, make sure you discuss. If you ever have to separate, how are you going to split them? If you are getting into joint investments, lay down the rules as when is it that you will liquidate those assets? For what need will those assets be liquidated? It's good to have it in writing. It's good to have that mutual understanding. Do talk very openly with your spouse about your financial fears, and both of you, I would say, should have your individual balances that you can access if there's an emergency. Always be prepared for that. Start your financial planning early in your career. Make it a habit to put aside some money for yourself that you can access should anything happen. By the time you're 50, you should at least have enough money that can last you 5 to 6 years should you be without a job, should you be without a spouse, right? By the time you're 60, of course, you need a very strong retirement fund. Again, something either you and your spouse can jointly access or access independently, but always keep that money pool aside for yourself should you be alone. Again, I'll just say one more thing. When it comes to women and finances, it's not about the intelligence factor. It's not about a woman's inability to understand how to manage finances. She is simply too preoccupied looking after everyone, and this takes a backseat. So let's not do that. Let's keep ourselves safe and make sure we are prepared for any kind of mishap.